Wild boars are becoming more cunning and aggressive. They no longer fear humans. Some even roam into the fields near residential areas at night in search of food. Our hunts aren't about showing off trophies. They're about keeping things from spiraling out of control. Today's trip to Texas is no different. We're heading into a new pursuit, one where skill, focus, and sheer grit will determine everything. Using our familiar hunting tactic, we split into two teams. One scout team moved ahead with the hunting dogs to track signs, spot the target, and report its position. The other team set up an ambush, ready to open fire the moment the prey appeared. After about 15 minutes, the ambush team received the signal and immediately moved into position. There was a small wild boar burst out from a thick clump of trees. Travis, stationed at the choke point, had already raised his gun, ready for the decisive moment. And then, bang, the opening shot rang out. Taken by surprise, the boar collapsed on the spot, without even a chance to resist. To widen the ambush, we spread out and set up positions at different points. I picked a spot on a tall hunting stand where I had a wide, unobstructed view of the still forest stretching out in front of me. Down below, another wild boar appeared. It was running fast, but I had already anticipated its direction and quickly aimed my rifle to cut it off. My finger pressed firmly on the trigger. The gunshot cracked sharply through the air, swift and precise, putting the animal down in just a few short seconds. Earlier, the team had scouted the area and identified a route frequently used by the wild boars. We set up a fixed ambush point and waited patiently. Wild boars don't have sharp eyesight like deer, but they're extremely sensitive to movement. Staying completely still was a matter of survival. Sure enough, it wasn't until the boar was just 6 meters away that it suddenly realized the danger, but by then, it was too late. Without hesitation, Travis pulled the trigger at close range. A clean shot. The boar collapsed onto the dry leaves and quickly went still. After the morning raid, the forest turned unusually quiet. Since we could no longer stay in place to ambush, we decided to move deeper into the thick brush, an ideal hiding spot for wild boars. Suddenly, a sharp rustling sound stirred the bushes to my right. My instincts kicked in instantly. I raised my rifle, took aim, and bang. Just 2 seconds to react, but it was enough to take down the target right in the heart of its own territory. That moment of triumph was unmatched. The scout team once again relayed the boar's location, and the entire group quickly converged at the ambush site, fanning out to block all possible exits. With a well-coordinated encirclement, The wild boars stood almost no chance of getting away. In just 15 short minutes, several more were successfully brought down. As the day drew to a close, the pressure didn't ease. In fact, it only grew stronger. Travis suddenly spotted a herd of wild boars stealthily weaving between the thick tree trunks. One boar broke away from the group, trying to dash across the trail, unaware it had just entered the kill zone. I didn't hesitate. From the edge of the path, I pulled the trigger. The shot ended its life instantly, bringing a dramatic close to a long and intense day of hunting in the unforgiving land of the Texas Panhandle. The night before the hunt, we sat beside a small fire inside a rickety wooden shack on the edge of the forest. News about wild boars tearing through the villagers' crops had been growing more frequent. Those animals were becoming bolder, more cunning. That was why we made the decision to leave the safety behind, bringing our rifles, supplies, and a sharpened sense of caution, stepping into a hunt that promised danger at every turn. Like always, we started by carefully surveying the terrain. This time, the forest's edge, the fragile boundary between open land and dense woods, was the spot we chose for the ambush. I stood just outside, eyes locked onto the dense wall of trees ahead. Early morning is still prime feeding time for boars, so it didn't take long before a large, dark-colored male appeared. It had no idea it was being watched. Step by step, it moved closer, completely unaware like it owned the place. Then again, I had been sitting dead still for nearly 30 minutes, like part of the landscape. I gripped my rifle tight and aimed just behind the front shoulder. One deep breath, finger on the trigger. The boar dropped almost instantly. That shot was a kill shot, maybe heart, maybe lungs, I couldn't say for sure. But I knew it didn't feel pain for long. Moving closer, I crouched behind a bush near the forest edge. Good cover, good view, but the downside was shifting winds and sharper ears for the boars. Even with a group right in front of me, I didn't dare make a sudden move. finger resting gently on the trigger. Boom! One down, the rest scattered. That's fine. I'll be seeing them again deep in the woods. We pushed deeper into the forest. Not even 5 minutes in, boom, a whole herd of wild boars suddenly appeared. They were too fast. The angle was bad. After a few missed shots, we gave up the chase. Deeper still, the vibe was now a mix of excitement and tension. As I waited behind a tree, another boar showed up about 30 feet away. No time to think. I raised the gun and fired. Quick and clean. Another one down. Still moving. Still searching. Then I heard the hunting dogs barking like crazy not far off. I followed the noise and came to a narrow game trail, thick bushes on both sides. The boar could charge out from anywhere, any direction. I stayed sharp. But wait, not that way. Something, maybe sound, maybe instinct, made me spin around fast. Rifle up. Seconds later, it showed up. One clean shot, right on cue. The boar dropped in the middle of the trail. Motionless. Was it skill? Instinct? I don't know. Maybe both. But I do know that one tiny rustle saved the moment. And believe it or not, I ran into another group of wild boars. The adrenaline had barely left my system from earlier, and now it hit me all over again. I only had a few seconds to fire before they shifted direction and vanished. I managed to hit at least one. Not the best outcome, but far from the worst. I was standing near the roadside, eyes locked on the trail ahead where the boars were darting across. A few shots rang out. Every time the wild boars came through, our family's lush green fields turned into a wasteland of destruction. Months of hard work and care, all gone in a flash. And it wasn't just us. The whole village had been suffering from poor harvests because of these aggressive, increasingly cunning animals. So when I heard a local hunt was being organized, I couldn't just sit around. I had to join in. That afternoon, our hunting team gathered at the base of the mountain, each of us eager and ready for action. As we moved through a field of tall grass toward the mountain, I suddenly noticed something strange, an all-too-familiar musky scent and the subtle sound of movement in the distance. My instincts kicked in instantly. I raised my rifle, and just like I expected, a wild boar appeared from afar. I didn't hesitate. I pulled the trigger. Bullseye. The shot was clean, fast, and fatal. The boar was down in seconds. Just ahead of me, Devlin suddenly stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened, clearly spotting something out of place. And there it was, a dark blur charging straight at him at full speed, fearless and feral. Devlin didn't flinch. He pulled the trigger without mercy. The barrage of gunfire dropped the boar immediately. It took us about 10 minutes to reach the mountain. As soon as we got there, my teammate quickly locked in on the boar's direction. I took up my position, ready and steady, waiting for the perfect moment. There it is. The boar lunged out, and I fired instantly. A few shots later, it staggered and dropped to the ground. Up on a mountain peak, I had a clear vantage point over the area below. The dogs were still sniffing and barking down at the foot of the hill, and thanks to them, we quickly located our next target. My rifle locked onto the boar, and with a loud bang, the shot rang out. But this one wasn't easy. It took several rounds before I could finally bring it down. A little to my left, Devlin had also found his target, a smaller boar. At that close range, it didn't take much for Devlin to take it down cleanly. When I saw the boar running straight toward Felix, I immediately radioed him to get ready. With solid coordination and a tight formation like this, there was no way the boar could escape. I stood alone, patiently waiting as the dogs drove the boar in my direction. And the moment it burst out of the underbrush, boom, a single shot straight to the target. The chase ended just like that. With our advantage in numbers and tight coordination, we quickly gained the upper hand. Gunshots echoed non-stop through the forest, shaking the silence. In just under 10 minutes, several boars had already been taken down, an intense and efficient hunt. On our way back down the mountain, we ran into yet another group of wild boars. It all happened so fast, we had no choice but to spring into action. The number of boars was shocking, huge, aggressive, and charging at us like they knew no fear. But thanks to our hunting experience and honed skills, we handled them swiftly and cleanly. Lately, wild boar sightings have been reported frequently in the nearby areas, making my family anxious. Our carefully cultivated crops are entering harvest season. If the boars come through, all our hard work could be wiped out in an instant. That's why my fellow locals and I quickly came together to organize a large-scale hunt to stop them in time. At the crack of dawn, we arrived at the foot of the mountain, rifles slung and our pack of hunting dogs in tow. Without wasting any time, everyone split up and got into position. Roughly 10 minutes in, a gunshot echoed. Clearly one of our men had taken a shot. A radio call confirmed it. A wild boar had just escaped. Using our phone's GPS, we tracked its direction. There it was. I raised my rifle, locked onto the boar. It kept charging toward me. Big mistake. One precise shot was all it took. The beast collapsed completely. Hearing the dogs barking furiously, we sprinted ahead to scan the area. From a fair distance, I adjusted my scope and squeezed the trigger. The boar dropped on the spot and lay there motionless. "15 quiet minutes passed. Then suddenly, the dogs barked wildly at the foot of the mountain. They must have picked up the scent. With the barking growing louder, my adrenaline surged. I locked onto the direction of the target. It was moving across from me. I adjusted my aim and fired. Boom! The shot hit The boar went down and didn't get up again, falling where it stood in the wilderness. Fresh off our last success, we continued up the mountain slope. Suddenly, I spotted a familiar dark silhouette in the distance. The moment it saw us, the boar turned and faced us, but we weren't about to let it escape. A loud gunshot echoed, and the boar was immediately taken down. We had team members stationed at the base of the mountain too. They were closing in on a boar, trying to hide. Under intense pressure, the boar was forced out of hiding. The moment it appeared, my friend took a deep breath, raised his rifle, and locked on. The first shot wasn't enough to take it down, but he didn't hesitate, quickly pulling the trigger again. Finally, the boar dropped and lay still on the ground. We didn't have to wait long before spotting another target. Just 10 minutes later, a new boar showed itself. But we didn't shoot right away. Firing too soon could send it fleeing. Instead, we quietly crept in, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And there it was. My buddy squeezed the trigger. The bullet cut through the air, hitting the target dead center. It didn't even have time to react, collapsed within seconds. My hunting dog suddenly started barking uncontrollably and darted forward. Thanks to him, one of our team members found another wild boar. After an intense chase with the dogs, the boar was completely drained, collapsed from exhaustion as the team closed in. From there, it was easy. A single decisive shot into the hunt with a clean and satisfying victory. I am an amateur hunter from Lyon, and have always wanted to set foot in the Arkenbarois forest, a place with a long tradition of hunting. But for more than a decade, wild boar hunting has been considered controlled, and farmers in the area have been suffering from the presence of wild boar herds. A terrifying invasive species throughout the Americas, it is now rampant in Europe. Early in the morning, the weak sunlight penetrated through the dense foliage of the Arkenbarois forest, creating a dim and quiet scene. I stood silently at the assigned position, listening to the slightest sound from the deep forest. Suddenly, the sound of rustling leaves and the sound of running feet rang out. It was a wild boar charging towards me. I raised my gun, eyes on the prey. When it appeared clearly in my sights, I held my breath, aimed carefully, and pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang out, the boar was hit and fell. Wow, this boar is pretty big, man. Don't let it get away. We were all happy and excited. Perhaps this land was rarely used by hunters, so the wild boars had become fearless. Taking advantage of this opportunity, we began to hunt more vigorously. Our target was to hunt in the lowlands. We quickly found a herd of wild boars. Without flinching, I aimed and shot one immediately. To hunt wild boar, you must be patient and wait. Aim accurately to destroy the prey as quickly as possible. Another wild boar appeared in sight. An explosion echoed throughout the forest. The wild boar tried to escape, but my friend fired another shot, officially killing a wild boar. Remember, the wild forest is the home of wild boars, so we always keep a safe distance to take them down. Don't get too close to them, because we never know what bad things might happen. Do you know how to kill a wild boar with just one shot? Aim well for their head or lungs. The wild boar will fall instantly. However, if you shoot while the wild boar is running, it is very difficult to aim accurately. At these times, you have to shoot many times to kill the wild boar. Wild boars usually move in herds, so when shooting, we will choose the largest size boar. Wow, a huge herd of wild boars. I can't imagine what would happen if they entered the farm. Without hesitation, I opened fire in succession, hoping to kill as many wild boars as possible. Not every shot is accurate, like this wild boar that was lucky to escape my bullet. Next time we definitely won't miss it. There is no denying that the forest in Arkenbarois is vast. Due to the diverse terrain and ecosystem, wild boar reproduce and grow very quickly. Almost every section we encountered a different group. Seeing the silhouette of the wild boar from afar, I adjusted my scope and shot it down decisively. The shot knocked it down instantly. With such a large number of wild boars, we could take down dozens of wild boars on each hunting trip. While moving to the gathering place, we encountered a herd of wild boars moving on the road. Without hesitation, I aimed and shot a few. Finally, we gathered our hunted trophies and moved to the staging area. Most of us were happy and excited because the hunt was very productive.